Okay, we're here in San Francisco. I'm with Julie Matthews. Julie is a certified nutritionist consultant. She's also a specialist in autism. And we're going to be making bean burgers today.
Absolutely. You know, I really find that beans have so many nutritional properties, but lots of kids don't like beans. They don't like the smushy texture, and so we're going to make beans.
They don't look very nice either.
Yeah, beans are just a little bit odd for people, especially picky eaters. So we're going to make beans fun and have a good texture and flavor to them.
Okay, now what is the good thing about beans? Why is it so good for our children to have them?
Well, beans, if you look into beans, first of all, they're high in fiber, which is great, but a lot of people don't know, when you look at the top 10 high antioxidant foods like blueberries and things like that, beans are actually 5 of the top 10 highest, they're really? 5 of the top 10 highest antioxidant foods. And most people don't realize that. So lots of good nutrients, vitamins, and all sorts of good fiber and things.
Okay, and we've also got some sunflower seeds?
Yes, we've got sunflower seeds, which also have some good nutrients, calcium and other things. And we're going to put that together with some vegetables and some eggs and make some bean burgers, high in protein.
Brilliant.
High in protein, which is nice. A lot of people want to avoid not only gluten and casein, but also soy. So if you're a vegetarian particularly, it's really good to get this nice protein-packed burger, bean burger, without any soy.
Okay, so what's the first thing we do?
All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to chop these up fairly finely, the sunflower seeds. We're just going to put them in the food processor all by themselves, blend them around a bit, and then we're going to take
That's about a cup you've put in there.
That is 1 cup, yes.
Okay, so that I'm just going to blend that on its own?
You're going to blend that up.
Okay. Let's just do that. Oh.
That's good. Whew. Great, I know.
That was noisy.
Loud.
Okay.
Okay. So great. Yeah, that's fine. We're going to put those back in here just so that we can. So we're just going to have that some sort of a fine texture. Now you can do this, again, depending on your child and how they like things, you can blend this up more finely or you can keep it sort of like
chunky like we have.
Exactly. The beans we're going to also do similarly. We're going to pulse them, but not till they're a mush, till they're kind of broken up like this. So we'll do that.
So can we do that now?
Yes. That's probably good. We'll stop that.
A little bit of mush.
So let's just see. Yep, yeah. So let's, oops. All right, that's good. That's
okay,
perfect.
so where are we going to put this?
We're going to put that in the bowl.
Main bowl.
And we're just going to actually
This is mushed up beans.
Yep, it's just mushed up beans. If you don't mush them at all, then they don't hold the texture as well. So doing the beans is going to help with the texture.
Okay.
All right, so you can see that. You can use any sort of beans that you'd like. One of the important things, though, is really to soak your beans before you cook with them. You know, a lot of people say beans make you gassy and all of that. We want to make sure we soak them first.
And soak them literally overnight or something?
Yeah, soak them in water overnight. So if you took about a cup of beans, once you soak them, and then cook them, you probably end up with about 2.5 cups later, which is about what we have right here. But yeah, that's really going to help remove the inflammatory compounds and the digestive inhibitors that a lot of people find a problem with beans. So,
but when a parent's going to buy them, what kind of beans are they asking for?
Okay, so when you're going to buy them, you want to buy some just dry beans, organic beans from the store. You want to make sure that obviously they're not cross-contaminated any with other scoops that might have gotten gluten or something in them. And you're just looking for any kind of beans that you decide that you want to cook up.
Okay, so take them, soak them overnight, and then they're ready to go.
Yep, fill them so that they're covered with water, soak them for 8 hours, drain them off, rinse them a bit, drain them again, and then they're good to go.
Fabulous.
Oh, I'm sorry. Then what we're going to do is we're going to cook them. Then once we cook them, they're good to go. So we soak them, then we cook them. So these are ready to eat.
How long have you cooked them for?
You cook them for about 30 minutes or so. You'll notice that when you soak things, you can cook them for a little bit less. So depending on the bean, it could be longer, could be 45 minutes or a little more. Depends on the bean.
Okay, fabulous.
All right,
so what are we going to do? We got our beans in there.
Yep, and then we're going to add everything else. So we'll add our sunflower seeds.
So there's a cup of chopped up sunflower seeds.
Yes, and then we're going to add, we have 2 different types of vegetables. We have a 1/2 cup of kale, and at the bottom here we have a 1/2 cup of zucchini. So we're just going to dump all that in. You can use any vegetables you have. You can. I like
you
carrots.
are a fan fan, aren't you?
Yeah.
We've got kale in quite a few
Yes,
of your recipes.
I do. I try to put kale in as many things as I can. I just feel like it has so much good calcium and iron and good nutrients and folic acid and things that are that kids with autism really need, and people, just all of us, could use more of. So I try to sneak kale in. And I find if you make it finely chopped enough, they don't really even notice. Now, if you have a super picky eater, then you'd probably puree it into a fine puree before adding it.
Well, we don't use kale, so that's something I'm certainly going to get into when I get back home.
Great.
So what about this onion now?
So we're going to add the onion as well.
Okay, this is a whole onion being
we can,
beautifully chopped by me.
Yep, that's lovely.
And salt.
And we're going to add a little salt. Yeah.
Pinch.
Yes.
Okay, of this salt, and just remind everybody, this salt is Himalayan salt.
That's right.
It's not the bleachy white salt that Julie does not recommend from the supermarket.
Exactly. And again, if you find that your child is more of a picky eater, you probably chop the onion more finely.
Yeah.
You could even use onion powder. Yeah. That kind of thing.
We've done this quite harsh.
Yeah, just
rough, that whole thing.
Yep.
So what you're saying is really mince it up into, so they just can't see anything.
That's really usually yes, exactly. Even pureeing it if you need to, if that's the case. And then we're going to add some eggs. We're going to add 4 eggs to this. You really need the eggs to make sure that it binds together. If you go to flip your burger and your burgers do not flip, they crumble, then it means you need more egg.
Okay.
So, you know, sometimes it's a little bit of an experiment with the first 1 or 2 until you get it right, but that is kind of the secret. If you have crumbly burgers, it means you need more eggs.
Okay, so you're putting
4 eggs.
Organic eggs into...
That's
and
right.
eggs quite good for children with autism, or
eggs
children
are
in general.
great. They have choline, which is great for the brain, all sorts of good fatty acids, and so they really have a lot of wonderful properties. Now remember, of course, that's if you can process and handle eggs. Lots of people are allergic or sensitive to them. But if you're not, then they have lots of great brain nutrients.
Okay, so that's mixed up really, really nicely into a gooey mixture.
Yeah, and I have the pan. I have it on a little bit. It probably needs a little bit of more time. We can use whatever type of oil we really want. We could use olive or we could use ghee. I think I'll just use olive because I have it handy here.
And remember Julie's tip, which is to heat the pan first and then put the oil in afterwards.
Yes, and we happen to have heated this pan a bit ahead of time, so we should be in pretty good shape. It's going to need a little more time, but we'll toss the first one in there and... All right.
Okay, well, I'll let you do that, seeing as you're the expert on this.
And you can also, if you want, you can let this sit for a little bit, and it kind of firms up a little bit if you want to do that. But we are just going to make it straight away here. Press it down.
It's just a sort of a recipe I would never think about doing this.
I know.
It's so simple.
It's so simple, and you know, I have to say that I have a picky eater in my household who happens to not be my child but my husband, and he's also a vegetarian, and he loves these. And in fact, I discovered these because he doesn't like the texture of beans and he wasn't getting enough protein in his diet, and so I made these for him. And then they just turned out to be great for those with autism because they really also benefit by the same sort of texture challenges and things like that.
Well, because that's the interesting thing. It's not just the child with autism that's a picky eater. There's other members of the family that are as well. And they need their nutrients as much as a child. And with that in mind, autism mothers and fathers, you need to look after yourself, because unless we're healthy, you have no chance of being able to look after your child with autism.
That's right.
Try some of Julie's recipes on
yourself. And as you're making these, make some for yourself so that you have some. These I find do a great job. They don't have to be hot. They work well, kind of room temperature, so if you're on the go, you can bring them as a snack as well.
Okay, so they're looking really good now.
Yes, they're getting to a point where we can flip them. And I don't know, it might be hard to tell, but they do have some nice structure. You'll notice that it did not break when it flipped over. So you know you got your egg right when you have a nice flip. And what I do is that when I make these for my family, they look good.
They look great.
And when I make these for my family, I make whatever we're going to have for dinner, but I make usually a double or a triple batch, and then I cook them all up over the course of the next, 30 or 40 minutes after dinner's done, and I freeze them all, putting some paper in between each of them so that my husband can pull out what he wants and just heat it up for lunch, heat it up for dinner. It's a really fast and easy way to have these available when you want them.
I'm really impressed at the way they look. They look like those nutty burgers that you can buy in the supermarkets, which you know are not particularly good for you.
Correct. And you know every ingredient that's in here, you know that it's gluten-free, and you're going to use better ingredients than you would otherwise. And again, free of soy, which is really
Now, why is soy such a problem?
Soy is also very inflammatory to the digestive system, just like gluten and dairy are. And so for a lot of people, they just don't tolerate soy very well. There's, you know, other things about it as well in terms of how it can affect the thyroid and the endocrine system. But for most of the kids, it's really the digestive issue.
Because I have to say, I think this is interesting. This is something that actually parents should think about. And that is when you take your child off gluten and casein and you substitute it for soy and you say the gluten and casein is not working, it's probably because you've got another food in there that's antagonizing them as much as before.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So that's what we're going to avoid by having these great bean burgers.
Okay.
And there you go. You got your bean burger, and you'll notice, look at the texture. I mean, it is really solid, really very solid. So here we go.
They look good. I can see most children will love it. Let's see what they taste like. Again, it's gonna be hot.
Yes.
Boiling, in fact. Well, while we're waiting for that to cool down, don't forget you can get all these recipes in Julie's book. You can get that off Julie's website, Nourishing Hope, or you can go to the media channel, Autism Media channel there, and we'll have a link on there to go to that. Right, let's see if we can taste this. That's really nice.
Good flavor.
I really like that. It's interesting because if you show that to my family, they'll say no way. But if you give them that, they'll love it.
Exactly. And if you really need to, you can make them really nice and thin, make them crispy, all sorts of ways to make that texture nice and good.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Julie. That's all we've got time for this week. Next week, we'll be back with Shannon, and we'll be back with Julie, and we'll be back with Doreen. So join us next week. Bye.